YouTube. Coming up in a minute. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Do-do-do, boop. Do-do-do. 5 minutes, YouTube. God bless you. 5 minutes, people. Oh. Blimey. Blimey. Oh, no, don't do that. Hey, YouTube, God bless you. I'm just lining up old fascist bot. Sorry, Facebook. Just bear with me and we'll get this show on the road on this fine Thursday evening with beer o'clock just round the corner. Oh, you're there. I keep forgetting I've got this new webcam. Because I'm a bit of a thickie like that. Right, okay, good. We now should be streaming on Facebook as well as on YouTube. And coming up in 7 minutes, people. 7 minutes. Bubba Kate Paris. Yeah, UKIP's NEC coming in to have a chat. And I'm really looking forward to that. I've been looking forward to this chat for a long time, actually. So yeah, okay. See you in a minute, folks. And let's have a good show. God bless you. All right. Oh, please share. Share. Yeah. Copyright free, Facebook. Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Copyright free, Facebook. Yeah. They'll probably rip it down anyway. They'll, you know. Hold on, I gotta share this. Yeah, folks, if you're watching an archive version, you might want to fast forward about another 5 minutes to the top of the show. And if you're not watching an archive version, or even if you are, hey, do us a favor, share the thing. Yeah, please share. Let folks know that we are talking. We're thinking, we're active. And we're not putting up with any of that nonsense from the bloody... Hey, Kate.
Thank you.
Lovely. God bless you. Alrighty. Just 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes and 10 seconds. I always do, yeah. You got to improve this stuff. It's only copyright free. Oh, 2 minutes, people. 2 minutes.
Messing with my head again. You had your heart set on me.
Oh yeah.
But these feels, they come and go, and they come so easily.
Really?
Tell me what it is about you that I can't forget. But you're breaking down my walls again, just to set me free. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I
I'm such a moron for Prime Minister!
Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling?
Quite cool, this track. Quite like this one. Might be a minute late, folks. Just go on, Kate. Oh yeah, she's dancing.
Staying up when I go out, you gotta know I'm all yours. But when I say what's that about, you start slurring your words. Tell me why you have to seem so distant when I'm holding you. Your fingertips are drifting away, and I fucking love how it hurts. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love
I'm such a moron for Prime Minister! Oh. Hey folks! Good evening, good people. And welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, a very human politician. What's it like being a regular gal in a world full of careerists? UKIP's Bubba Kate Paris lifts the lid on UKIP's NEC on being an individual in a climate full of starched staff shirts and on being lambasted by fakestream looking for Kipper targets. Taking your calls on 033000111264, which you'll forget. The number's at the top of the page. And we'll see you in the comments. You can also call on Discord if you would like to. That's gov.ly/rant. Please help the show and support free speech. PayPal.me/Brexit. Cheers. Please share the thing, like the page, all that. Let folks know we're talking, we're thinking, we're watching, we are active. Right, okay. I don't know what's going on with my my picture keeps freezing. I tell you, I've got this new software, and I need to fine tune the frame rate or something. Hey, Kate, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, Ollie. I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me on this evening. How are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. I've been looking forward to this. Thank you very much. Now, I want to just go through a few news stories to begin with, and please chip in and tell me what you think as and when you want to on this stuff. And I'm going to be winging it because, to be honest with you, I've had a bit of I had to do some other things this afternoon, so I'm not really up quite on what's going on. But why don't we start with a bit of fun, yeah? Because according to the Express, Andrew Neil leaves Soubry absolutely speechless. This is not the Anna Soubry hour. No, come on, let's see if old Soubry is getting skewered here by...
That campaign that she's associated with have now, as I say, gone out today, all out, for the revocation of Article 50. If there is to be a parliamentary showdown, let's have it.
Right.
All right, well, we're on
Prime
Minister.
No,
I'm
sorry. End up with me not being able to go to my home
This is not the Anna Soubry hour. Joanna Cherry, let me bring you in. I think you've had more than a fair say, and other will have a fair say too. That's my job, whether you like it or not. Joanna Cherry, let me just show this petition.
Oh, well, I cocked that up a bit, didn't I? Because I didn't have it on the screen at the beginning. But anyway, always good to see Anna Soubry getting a bit of a hard time. Right, okay, but there's really no story there, let's face it. It's a bit of a non-story. Meanwhile, Macron shock outburst. We're ready for no deal and will defend French fishermen at all costs. Send in the gunboats, mate. Let's see how you do. Emmanuel Macron has warned the British government.
Look,
France...
I'm not here to comment
any
other political system. I'm just here to say we do respect...
Yes, you are. You're there to defend your plutocratic pals, the Rothschilds and all the bloody plutocrat... Right, Emmanuel Macron has warned the British government France is prepared to defend the rights of its fishermen and businesses in the event of a no-deal Brexit. Emmanuel Macron has warned the UK the French government's ready to defend the rights of fishermen and citizens fishing in our waters, presumably at risk of no-deal Brexit at all costs. Speaking before a crucial meeting of the 27 leaders of the European Union with Theresa May, Mr. Macton, they say here, I think they mean Macroni, insisted France is technically and legally prepared to protect the interests of small businesses such as Rothschild's Bank PLC or something, I guess. Anyway, not very happy, are they? Getting pretty tense in the Commons by the looks of it as well. Speaker Bercow orders Andrea Leadsom to sit down during a Commons spat.
I will order. Let's grow up. Do grow up. For goodness sake, this is not a matter of party political hackery. Let's have some seriousness of purpose and mutual respect. The honourable gentleman is an experienced member of the House. He's asked an honest question to which the leader, I know, will honestly reply. For goodness sake, let's raise the level. The leader of the House.
Mr. Speaker, may I just say that your response does not raise the level, but I'll leave it there.
Order, resume your seat, leader of the House. My response sets out the constitutional position that has applied to members of the House of Commons over generations, and I cannot for the life of me see or believe that there's anything remotely controversial about what I have said. The leader of the House.
I don't know, Kate. What do you say? What do you think? Is this guy Bercow a bit controversial, or is he just a regular kind of guy?
I think he's always been that way, hasn't he? I mean, I find him quite an interesting fellow. I do think he was quite right to take the deal off the table, coming back for a third time. I know a lot of people are up in arms about that at the moment. But he's having to deal with very difficult circumstances at the moment. I can understand why Leadsom and other Brexiteers are feeling quite emotional, and at times, it's like trying to chair a meeting in UKIP, when people are, it's same as if during a leadership election where our emotions are running high, you have to kind of step in if you are the chairman to ensure that meeting runs according to the constitution and fairly, so that everybody gets their say. So if he's telling people to sit down, that's quite fair. I mean, I haven't seen Parliament today. I've been quite busy. I've only just got back in. But usually he seems quite reasonable. I agree with you about... Will the speaker return to his seat? Did he get up, because usually he sits there, for 16 hours plus without much complaint.
He must have huge piles. He must have huge piles. I don't know.
Yes.
But he was right, wasn't he, to take that deal off the table? But should he have not have taken
those donut cushions to sit on so that he doesn't get piles? That they give women after they've given birth. One of those nice orthopedic donut things.
Maybe he's got them in his knickers. I don't know. He was right to. I agree with you. He was right to take the deal off the kind of the Mach 3 or whatever, like a banged out Cortina Mark 3. But should he not have taken Mark 2 off the table? According to Erskine May, he should have done, no?
Well, I believe that he should have done, because there was obviously no significant change, not really, to the backstop, in my opinion, and same with the House when they voted on it. I mean, when you've had something with the historic defeat that Theresa May had with that deal, I think it was the biggest defeat ever seen in British Parliament, for basically the same deal to keep getting offered and offered again after they've tried to take no deal off the table. They're basically saying, this is the deal you're getting or you're not getting Brexit. It's an A-B type situation that they're trying to cause, where it's either you're not leaving at all or you're actually staying under this deal that pretends that we're leaving, but make sure that legally we don't have a right to actually leave again in the future. We have to remain part of the common market. It's a terrible deal that we're being forced to accept. So he's right to take it off the table, because it's highly undemocratic to allow it in the first place. However, should he have allowed it to go forward a second time? No, not without significant change.
What part of what's going on here? It's my deal, which apparently is still, they now want to have this MV3, meaning meaningful vote 3, next week, or there's no Brexit, is basically what they're saying. What part of this is not blackmail?
Oh, it definitely is blackmail. I mean, I really don't get. They're giving us 3 options, right? So no deal was taken off the table. So that leaves us with 2. These 2 options are an extension period. Explain to me what an extension period is for, when Brussels have already said they will not negotiate further, and the deal that we're being offered is the only deal we're going to get. So basically, the extension is the deal later on, or we go for the deal now. How is that democracy? How is that choice?
I completely agree with you. Groniad, their take on what's going on today, which actually is probably the main story of the day, I suppose. Macron, UK heading for no deal Brexit if MPs reject May's plan. French president's warning comes as Theresa May set to ask EU leaders for extension. Emmanuel Macron has warned that Britain is heading for no deal unless the House of Commons ratifies the withdrawal agreement negotiated with Brussels. Let me just clarify the language here just quickly. Emmanuel Macron has warned that Britain is heading for a no deal Brexit. What he actually means is heading for WTO regulations or a WTO deal with extra deals on the side between the UK and the EU, which have been negotiated already, for example, to keep the planes in the sky. So it's not no deal at all, unless the House of Commons, well, House of Traitors, clearly, ratifies the withdrawal agreement. No, the withdrawal treaty. It's a treaty. That's what the EU is calling it. A treaty. Not a deal, a treaty. Yeah, negotiated with Brussels. Well, I understand that it was negotiated, or in fact, I understand it was dictated by Angela Merkel to Theresa May before Chequers, before she even spoke to her cabinet about it. Oh, you're there. Sorry, I keep forgetting which webcam. Kate, I'm sorry. I do get a bit upset about this, but I mean, am I wrong in any of that? Maybe traitor's a strong word. regarding all of them.
No,
as
you're
a whole,
very much right. Very much traitors. I mean, if I had it my way, I'd probably bring back hanging for treason, and I do find this treason. However, Macron's comments, they really don't surprise me. The guy is, a bit of a psychopathic narcissist, in my opinion, and sometimes I think, when he says things like "at any cost possible," yes, if there's no deal Brexit, we're not going to be part of the common fisheries policy. We're not going to have French ships coming into British waters and pillaging basically what is rightfully our fishermen's. Well, they can't even fish waters that are literally meters away from where they live. Of course we're not going to allow that to continue, but to threaten by we're willing to take any steps and any measures we need to, it just shows the level of dictatorship. Yes. And it's like when the Remainers used to say, well, staying in the EU is all about peace. What, peace because they're going to threaten us? If we want our sovereignty back, if we'd like our fishing waters back, if we'd like to dictate our own laws, are we then going to be threatened with force from people like Macron? Yeah. It appears so. But it's, they should have started listening to us in the first place. We were always negotiating from a position of strength. Project Fear likes to make out like Britain is going to, somehow have its economy collapse and the sky is going to fall. But that has never been the case. I mean, they are much more dependent upon us than we are them. And it would have been in their favour to try and negotiate an actual fair deal where we do get our democracy back, where we do, where we do have control over our own trade, over our own laws. And they could have been very amicable about it. But the EU and Theresa May decided to come up with a plan of deceit and offer the British public either no choice or, like we did with the Irish, a second referendum or as many as they need to until they get the answer that they want. Or they're just going to say, oh, well, it's all too difficult and take it off the table. But, if Theresa May has any ounce of political integrity left, she will leave with no deal. And if that happens, I think that people like Macron, when he is French fishermen are no longer allowed to come into British waters and steal our produce, I think that he's going to be quite upset. But that's kind of what he needs to learn. The people rule these countries, not the dictatorship of the EU.
Wow.
And that needs to be proven by this country to give all the other countries strength to get out of the monstrosity that the EU is. Frankly.
Kate, you're awesome. The stark choice for MPs was laid out by the French president shortly before the 27 EU heads of state and government listened to an appeal by Theresa May for a 3-month Brexit delay. In case of a no vote or a no, directly it will guide everyone to a no deal. For sure, Macron said. This is it. We are ready. The British Prime Minister is asking the EU for a Brexit delay until the 30th of June to allow time to pass the necessary withdrawal legislation should she get her deal through the Commons next week. Arriving at the summit, May told reporters, I am here today to discuss with fellow leaders a short extension of Article 50 until the end of June. Okay. Let's just have a quick look and see what else is going on. I actually don't think anything really is going on since last night, since her speech, but she hasn't quit. I was under the impression that there was a lot of angst in the British cabinet yesterday, surprise, surprise, with one minister describing the atmosphere as feeling like the last days of Rome, Kate. How is this woman surviving?
She's done very well so far, but she's, quite stubborn and tenacious. I did actually think yesterday when I got a message from the UKIP Manchester chairman saying, oh, Theresa May's doing a speech at 8. And we were like, ooh, is she going to resign? We hope so, but somehow I didn't think she'd have it in her. I thought she's just going to do another announcement where she waffles on and doesn't really say anything and gives you a load of false promises about negotiating something great with other world leaders and other leaders and gets nowhere. There seems to have been nearly 2.5 years of an awful lot of waffling on and nothing actually happening. Even this close to the deadline. So, her preparing a speech all of a sudden, I thought, well, maybe it's another delay tactic. And it appears so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think her days are numbered. The only way that Theresa May could save herself is by, going with a position of strength. I mean, to have somebody like Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, to sort of live up to, if you're the second woman prime minister, you'd want to show some backbone, wouldn't you? But so far, she doesn't seem to have. So
she walks along like she needs a Zimmer frame. She hasn't got any backbone that I can tell. I mean, seriously, come on, Kate.
She kind of does her robot pretty. I can't even be that rigid in my movements. But I've seen her dancing. She has a backbone. It just doesn't move very well.
Oh god, that was cringe.
It's like it's confused a little.
Oh look, okay, but it sounds as though you have. I mean, personally, I would put her on trial for treason, and I agree with you that the ultimate penalty for treason should be hanging. I'm not saying that she should be found guilty. I'm saying that she should be given a fair trial. But my opinion, personally, is that she's a little bit psychopathic, clearly has no empathy and all the rest of it, has no sense of humour, clear signs of a bit of psychopathy going on. And she also is basically bought by plutocrats, that she was a moron to start with. The Tory party as a whole is probably more complicit than anything, really, because they put her there despite the fact that they had a mandate to deliver Brexit. But it does seem to me that you're maybe being a little bit more kind than me in your appraisal of Theresa May. From day one, as soon as she got in, this show said there will be no Brexit. There will be an extension to Article 50 because that's what they want. Draw it out, kick the can down the road until everybody's, fed up of it or what have you, worn down. And then who knows, maybe we'll get one of these sort of pseudo-Marxist Labour governments reducing the voting age to 16. So we've got kids who haven't got a clue voting. And then guess what? Game over. I don't know. Kate, am I being unfair?
No, your apocalyptic view of the future kind of sounds quite right to me. I think that the Tory party are pretty much doomed next general election if they don't deliver Brexit, which means we're likely to end up with a Jeremy Corbyn government. That means Diane Abbott as Home Secretary, 16-year-olds that, a little bit brainwashed will be voting. And before you know it, we'll be like Venezuela, in my opinion. And we won't be leaving the EU, but the whole of the EU is going to go like Venezuela within the next decade if their economy carries on the way it is. It's all quite scary, but your apocalyptic view isn't too far. You said that I'm a little bit too kind with Theresa May as well. I do find that she's got a difficult job. It can't be easy, but nobody should have voted for Theresa May or allowed Theresa May, who is a Remainer, to be the prime minister that delivers Brexit. Whoever had that job was going to have a difficult job anyway, but to put a Remainer in charge of it and one that seems quite intent on betraying the British public was a very bad move by the Tories, and to allow it to have happened and to have gone along with it for as long as they have, I think is seriously going to hurt their chances in future. It's very scary to think of a Labour government because many of their ideas are what I'd call in the realm of insane. I
agree.
Some of them might sound lovely on paper, but in practice, it leads to devastation of society.
I want to just refer to a story that I pinned up on my profile last night. On old fascist bot or whatever it's called these days. Let me see if I can find that. But it basically is a quote of Kirsty Walk on Newsnight and her description of the deal. I just want to get the words exactly right. Now, BBC Newsnight. This is Kirsty Walk speaking. There is a Brexit deal on the table. Now, in my little write-up after this editorial, I called her a fake, a fraud, and a liar. And I tagged BBC Newsnight into that because it seems to me that there is for a start, it's not a deal. According to the EU, it's more than a deal. It's a treaty. But please, Kate, is there anything in that deal that we voted for in that referendum?
No, not in my opinion. I voted to get back our full sovereignty. I wanted to leave the customs union. I wanted to get full control of our borders. Being locked into a deal or a treaty that means that we can never actually apply to leave again, that legally we can't leave and we're going to be stuck as part of this customs union. We can't negotiate our own trade deals. Again, it's living under the dictatorship of an unelected body of bureaucrats sat in Brussels. That isn't what we voted for. I've got a feeling that Theresa May may have been offered one of those commissioner jobs to get this done.
Yeah, or maybe a free Zimmer
they
frame.
Don't like accountability much.
Or maybe a free Zimmer frame. Maybe they offered her or some robotics dancing classes or something. Just a few headlines from Telegraph summing up the day so far as they're concerned. Tusk and Juncker to give joint press conference shortly. Watch live above. I'll keep an eye out for that because that could be quite funny. French PM back the deal or risk no deal. That's that blackmail thing. Theresa May in Brussels today to seek Brexit delay. Donald Tusk says extension only available if MPs back deal. UK would, so they're blackmailing too. Nope. And interfering in British politics, although actually that it would be fair enough in this sense, I suppose. UK would then leave EU on May the 22nd. 2019, May the 22nd. Kate, remind me, please, when are these? So that's just before the EU elections, isn't it? The parliamentarian.
Did you say the 22nd? I'm pretty sure it's around the same sort of date that they're supposed to be called. Now, I've got a feeling that they don't really want British MPs back in the European Parliament. Yeah. I think if there is any sort of an extension, they will probably want civil servants or, people that are already from government to go over there. Because, last time UKIP did very well in 2014 and they ended up with European Parliament full of us. And I don't think they would like that again. However, I honestly don't think that they want Britain to leave or believe that we're leaving. I think they've been under this mass delusion that the British people can't leave and they're going to make it so. So it's possible that they may hold these European elections. I mean, it's quite irritating for all the political parties in Britain right now because many would like to start planning if there are European elections, yet it isn't clear and people don't want to spend money on things beforehand if that's not going to be the case. So I should imagine many, apart from probably the Tories, because they probably know or not, are all sat there thinking, well, what is going on? I find it a bit ridiculous that in a democracy that we sit there, weeks before this withdrawal agreement is supposed to, be finalised and we're supposed to leave, that we still don't have a clue what's going on. We still don't even know if we're going to be fighting European elections. It's all up in the air. I feel like we're being treated like mushrooms, in the dark on everything, and then just being given one option at the end of it all.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Nigel Farage vows to destroy Conservative Party if Brexit is delayed, and so I guess we'll just cut off the news now. But that is quite interesting, isn't it, what Farage is doing with the Brexit Party? I have to say, personally, I'm quite concerned that the Brexiteering lobby, if you like, the 17.4 million people, or certainly the many, many, many people that will leave the Conservative Party, that will leave the Labour Party, if they have any self-respect and do not like tyranny, they are now going to be presumably divided between these two parties, UKIP and the Brexit Party, which is potentially quite concerning, is it not? Or is the Brexit Party not going to be running in UK general election? Possibly, can't be sure. But when it comes to it, I would have thought they would want that power. And therefore, this is a worry, is it not? Because we have the opportunity here, whatever your political affiliation, somehow these Brexit parties have an opportunity to come together, somehow to coalesce, to cooperate, and to achieve a position in a coalition government alongside the DUP, working with the Tory party and holding the Conservatives' feet to the fire, possibly even to force through something like PR. Really big opportunities here. I do wonder how these opportunities have been savaged, actually, by the introduction of this new party.
Massively so. I mean, if you look at the left, they're very organised, and even if the groups don't particularly, get along or don't like each other, they still work as one united force. However, we seem to have a problem on the Brexiteer side. Quite often it's a war of cult of personalities and egos of people that so desperately want to be seen as the leader of everything, so can't get along together. With the Brexit party, I don't see it as a threat. As far as I'm concerned, UKIP has been fighting for 25 years to get out of the European Union. When people think of the party that they vote for, which is about leaving the European Union and getting your sovereignty back, we have the branding. People recognise UKIP. Now, the Brexit party isn't even a party. It's our one policy issue. It's a pressure group. It's a political pressure group. They have one policy, and that is getting out of the European Union. And to be honest, sometimes I question the intent of some of these people that got involved, like Nigel Farage and many of the MEPs that left, because, many of them, once elected, did not really give much back to the party. Many of them worked really hard up until the referendum. I will give them that. But, in regards to the money and the perks and everything else that they got, I think they got a bit too used to that, and they liked it a little bit too much. And some of them don't really even want to leave the European Union. They want to go back to the gravy train. And the fact that they had spent the last couple of years not helping the party, not helping the members, not doing anything, not donating in a time where we really could have done with that money, even though it was in an agreement where they said, oh, yes, we'd be more than happy to donate a certain amount to the party. No, they went on claiming massive wages with their gold standard pension, getting £350 a day just to turn up, all this money for staff. And you know what? They don't want to lose that. So they knew they weren't going to get put back on the MEP candidates list. And they know that they're going to be out of a job in a few months. So, create the Brexit party. Let's fight for a cause so we can get back into the MEP gravy train. It's not about leaving for them. It's about carrying on, getting what they can out of it. Look out for your profits, because there's plenty of them out.
Well, I did pit that question exactly to Bill Etheridge when he last came on the show, and he said that we do still need some Brexiteers in the EU Parliament at the moment. I don't know which side to go with here. I do sympathise with you. It seems to me if somebody leaves a position of power that they were elected with a mandate under a party or what have you, then they should leave. There should be a by-election, what have you. But on the other hand, we're so close to the EU election. I'm not so sure that's quite so relevant as it is with, for example, this new, Chuck Up Party or whatever it is, the TIGs. They stand to be in power potentially for another couple of years or something. They surely should have by-elections. But did you see perhaps the argument I think Bill Etheridge was chucking up there to me? That there's not long now between now and the Euro election. It's just not so tangible to quit.
Well, I've always seen it as we shouldn't even be there. We should have kind of walked out in 2016. We haven't had any say. The MEPs have very little to say on anything that goes on in the European Union. It's a pantomime of democracy. Mm-hmm. It's the European commissioners that write the policies and push through the laws. Yeah. The MEPs get to kind of vote on it, and they just rapidly go
Rubber
around
stamp.
counting hands. It's a pantomime of democracy. The MEPs are just there for show. They don't actually have any power. So apart from getting up and ranting a little bit at some of the sessions, that's about all that they really do. And, unless they're actually actively here campaigning and going out, etc. But we've already won. We already won the referendum. They should have been supporting leaving, and they should have been here doing that. However, I can understand why Bill says there is still a need for Brexiteers in the European Parliament. If we don't leave, I don't really trust our civil servants and government to continue sort of negotiating on our behalf, even though there's nothing left to negotiate. Mm-hmm. But for a lot of people, I do think that it was more worrying about the future. Now, some of them have left because they weren't happy with the direction that the party was going in. But I think some of them used that more as a mask to jump ship because it might have been more personally advantageous for them at that point in time.
Okay, let's take a few comments from folks. Good evening, everybody. Simon Dawson says, Lord Lawson, a former Chancellor of the Exchequer, yep, he was fat in those days, is the most prominent supporter of Leave Means Leave. Getty. In a sensible world, Leave Means Leave, the campaign for a clean Brexit, could safely be dismissed as a bunch of cooks and ignored as a result, made up of people subscribing to an extreme Brexit, which during the referendum the Leave campaign claimed would never happen. They are a coalition fundamentalists. The group is a bit like the dog that you don't need to tell the children to steer clear of, because of it can be counted on to produce a baleful sounding growl if they're unwise enough to get within a metre or two of where it lays. Thank you, Simon. Kathy Farrell, Kate, you are talking sense. Armin Ahmood, protecting their EU pensions. Sue McCallum, hi, all just been able to get on. Hey, Sue. And Alex Hines says, Office of Bill Etheridge, YouTube channel. Kenneth Noel, Gabriel Curran, the Brexit Party. Brexit, the most disliked recently invented English word. Procrastinate not, and children suffering. Not in my name, be wise. Brexit, leave, whatever you want to call it. Just get out, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not so bothered about the diction. Helen Lasky-Smith, James Miller, that's correct. That's between these guys. And Peter Reynolds says, Kate, don't slag another party off. It doesn't suit you.
I'm not slagging them off. I'm just saying what I think they are. And everybody, I applaud anybody going out there and fighting for Brexit. It's just disappointing that, certain circumstances mean that there are all these splinter groups and there is division when we're all fighting for the future sovereignty and the rights, collective rights, all of our rights and the future of our nation. We should all be working together. But unfortunately, things like ego, fighting for candidacy places, let's say long-standing arguments and people wanting to be the big I am has come between that, because people can't just all band behind somebody. Occasionally they don't think, oh, well, actually, I could do a better job, so I'm going to start off my own little splinter group, not realizing that all they're doing is weakening our overall objective or our position to achieve our overall objective. It's like cutting your nose off to spite your face to keep creating all these additional Brexit parties. All you're doing is confusing the electorate.
Yes.
That's why I'm happy about it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a few people here who think you're very attractive, by the way. Okay, right, Kate. Look, this political party business is poisonous now, isn't it? I mean, why should we trust any of them? I don't care whether, certainly not Labour, Tories, Lib Dems. Well, I mean, actually, they're relatively honest. They're just completely moronic. UKIP, we've had so many problems with the, what was it, that idiot Bolton, who might as well have been a Tory cabinet minister who told everybody to support May's deal. Paul Nuttall, I actually liked quite a lot, but he wasn't suitable as a leader. What I don't know what has happened since Nigel Farage left the leadership, apart from the fact that he recommended Paul Nuttall and Henry Bolton. But it does seem to me that UKIP has been acting up until Gerard Batten took over the helm, arguably, like a controlled opposition. Why should we trust UKIP any more than these in power or in the Commons?
Because UKIP is a party of the people. We're made up of ordinary people. Most people that are in UKIP were all volunteers. All of the NEC are volunteers. None of us get paid for what we do. We don't actually get anything out of it, apart from that we feel it's our moral duty. Now, UKIP has had 2 very difficult years, end of 2016, 2017, and the beginning of 2018. Not least because many people thought that UKIP's job was done. Nigel Farage left a massive power vacuum, which caused mass infighting throughout the party. As you say, I'm a believer in democracy, but sometimes, people vote for certain leaders. I mean, Paul Nuttall, he was lovely, and he was quite a good MP, and he did very well in his previous positions. However, the time that he was leader, he had quite a few bad people advising him. They were doing it on purpose, in my opinion, to try and get him to stand down so that it could give them a shot at the leadership. That sort of thing happens. But I think UKIP found it very difficult to sort of find their feet. That's the reason why I stood for the NEC in the first place. I didn't want to end up in anywhere near a public sort of role or anything that was going to bring any sort of public attention to me. I wanted to carry on with my career, partially because I didn't want to have to explain my past, which I knew was going to have to happen at some point should I take a prominent position, but also because I liked my career and it was quite good. And I preferred just volunteering on the side. However, I could see that UKIP was going to implode, and I knew we weren't going to get the Brexit that we voted for. And it was a matter of time before that became evident. So it was essential that, people got on board to a certain degree or a certain level where they could ensure that the party survives. And that's not been easy. The NEC inherited all kind of issues that we still get blamed for, but really we came into the job when these issues were already created, like the financial and legal issues that we had. I mean, we didn't create the Henry Bolton situation. I would say Farage's recommendation and that glowing CV that he had sort of helped towards that. And you can't help democracy. People make bad decisions all the time. I mean, they put Theresa May in charge of the Tory party. They've made Jeremy Corbyn leader of Labour. Sometimes people make poor choices in who they choose to be leaders. But UKIP has always been about first and foremost, being governed by ourselves and in the interests of our people, which has not been happening for quite a long time. But it is also about preserving all of the rights that make our country indeed free, like your freedom of speech, your equality under the law, your right to protest, these things. UKIP are the only political party that I can see in Britain that actually do genuinely care about their communities, that do genuinely care about their country, because now you've just got the establishment, which Labour and Conservatives are just two sides of the same establishment coin.
Dualistic politics.
Yeah, they
Pepsi challenge,
actual
Pepsi or Coke, doesn't matter which one you have, they'll both rot your teeth and give you cancer. Sorry, carry on, Kate.
So, and I feel that we're just given the best of two bad choices. So I think UKIP is the country's best option. I mean, for me, eventually, if I had my way, I'd like to dissolve all political parties, because I believe political parties hinder true democracy. But whilst we're in a political party system and we have the electoral system that we do, UKIP is the best hope for being able to sustain Britain as a free and independent nation, as an economic power, and to sustain our right to govern ourselves. These things are fundamental, and UKIP are the only ones that are going to promise that. So that's why I think people should trust them. It's hard to trust any politicians. I hear the word politician and I'm like, and politics. I got involved just purely because if
Now, hold on. We'll come to that.
In politics, you're always going to be governed by your inferiors.
Okay.
And I just refuse to be governed by inferiors and incompetence for the rest of my life, because at the end of the day, it affects my life. It affects people around me's life. I would rather go off and be quite happy doing my career and living a normal life. But unfortunately, while we have such corrupt and, as I say, incompetent politicians running our country, people like us are forced to get up and do something about it.
We will come on to how you traded a decent life for becoming a politician in a little bit.
I'm not a politician. I'm just a very active activist.
Okay, we're going to discuss that, and I'm going to assess your level of sanity, having crossed over to the dark side in a minute. But I do. Whilst we're on the topic of leadership with UKIP and the direction of the party, the trajectory of the party, I want to find out what's going on now with the party, because at the moment it seems at least to have a direction, a focus, whether people like it or not. And is that going to be the case after this, an acting leadership of Gerard Batten finishes very, very shortly now? What can we expect with UKIP and the leadership going forward?
Well, I can't ever predict how a leadership election is going to go. I'm expecting that the leadership election should start right after the local elections. So it will be announced in the beginning of May. I think it will take around 6 to 8 weeks in total to conduct. I think, obviously, I don't know who will be standing. It will completely, rely on who is actually standing on how the outcome ends up on UKIP's future direction. However, I think UKIP's future direction is quite clear. If we don't leave the European Union, we've still got to continue on that fight. But I don't know.
I
am aware of some people that are willing, have said that they want to be standing, but I don't think it's my position to be saying at this point in time. It's up for them to declare when they feel open to doing so. So I think it'll be interesting.
Can we trust the NEC, Kate? Can we trust the NEC, who have given us these abject, well, I was going to say abject morons. I mean, really, it's Bolton that was the complete moron. It looks like some sort of a Mr. Bean type character. I mean, and then all this deal with that Joe Marnie girl must be hung like a donkey or something, because he's like, I don't know what the deal is with that bloke. But that other guy, Paul Nuttall, was a bit different, maybe. I don't know. But I mean, he clearly wasn't suitable. How can we trust the NEC, which seems to be riven with, power struggles?
The NEC can't do anything in regards to the leadership. I mean, there will be some of us that will be, writing the plans for the leadership election, because obviously none of the staff can do it, because quite a lot of them are staff to the leader, like the chairman. She can't be, involved in planning the leadership election because her job relies on that. Sorry, I think someone's trying to call me as this is happening. Yeah, I'm getting all sorts of notifications through. I'm sorry if you can hear that.
It's all right. It's all right.
Apart from setting the parameters, which all of the NEC will agree together, and selecting a returning officer who will then conduct the elections, it's a completely democratic choice. So, in regards to Henry Bolton and Paul Nuttall, that wasn't down to the NEC. I mean, we removed Henry Bolton. Yeah, we did, because, it was quite clear in the position that the party was in that he was going to be unsustainable. We gave him many chances, but it wasn't the NEC that ultimately made that decision. We just put it to the membership, and it's the same with the leadership elections. I can probably endorse somebody for leadership, but it doesn't mean I'm going to have any control over the outcome. However, if they choose somebody awful that then breaks the rules or thinks he can lead the party as a dictatorship and not pay attention to the constitution, or goes out of his way to harm the party, gets involved with a good-looking young model and leaves his wife, and
by text message. What was that? Sorry, carry on, Kate. I just thought, by text. How can you? Mother of his children. I thought that was disgusting. Sorry, carry on, please, Kate. Please carry on.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, if a situation comes about where it's quite clear that the membership may want to make a second decision, then the only thing that the NEC could do is call an EGM. And again, will be a membership's decision. So a lot of people are like, oh, can we trust the NEC with this? We just have to deal with the cards that are dealt to us by the membership. Quite often it's just like, oh, okay, this is what you've given us. We'll do our best and try and make sure that everything runs as smoothly as it can in the party's best interest, no matter what your decision is, because that's your decision. We just have to deal with what you give us.
Are you happy with what you've seen from Gerard Batten personally?
Well, when Henry Bolton was looking like he was going to go, between the period of the NEC meetings and the EGM, there was people in UKIP that were wanting to hold meetings where they were going to be, talking about who could possibly replace Henry Bolton afterwards. And I conducted some interviews over the phone and with possible people that could step into that role in an interim basis, because the party was in a bit of an existential crisis at that point in time, and I needed strong leadership. And out of all the people that I spoke to, as soon as I spoke to Gerard Batten, I knew straight away that he was the man for the job. He didn't really even want the job per se, but that was an added bonus. People that really desperately want it, usually they don't have an idea of what being UKIP leader is. It's not a fun job, but he knew exactly what it was. And, the NEC, we spoke to him and I proposed him, and I've been very happy with what Gerard's done so far. I mean, from a business sort of sense, I look at it as in, we gave him targets to reach in regards to finance, into fundraising, into raising party morale, and very importantly, recruitment. And he has done exceptionally well. I thought we'd given Gerard Batten almost an impossible task after Henry Bolton. I thought, he's the best man for the job, but even he is going to struggle. And he has absolutely smashed it. So I might not agree with every decision that he makes, but I can't doubt that he has gone out of his way and has achieved pretty much the impossible, because I didn't believe those targets were going to be met, and he's done it. However, we have seen some fallout from some of the decisions that he's made, and I wasn't too happy at times, just because it wasn't so much with the decisions.
You're talking
but
about Tommy. You're talking about Tommy
days.
Robinson. You're talking about Tommy.
Yeah.
You didn't agree with that, or what?
I'm a big fan of Tommy. I very much respect what he does in regards to, the grooming gangs and exposing that. And I think he's done the public a massive service, very much to his own detriment. However, do I think it was wise on a day when withdrawal agreements were being discussed to make all of our media and stuff about, an event they're going to be having with Tommy, or, to announce him as a personal advisor at that point in time? I don't have anything against him being a personal advisor. It was just that we know how corrupt the mainstream media are. They never want to print anything about how great UKIP's doing, or how much common sense it's making in regards to this agreement or Brexit or whatever we're talking about, or Mike Hookham's gone to go deal with the common fisheries policy. You never hear about that stuff. They only want to write about the bad things, or the things that they think are going to paint us in a bad light. And sometimes, it sort of distracts from what we actually are as a party. I mean, I think we can very much support Tommy, especially in regards to the equality under the law, the persecution that he's faced, because it is unacceptable in a free and open society for the law not to be implemented fairly and correctly, and abused just to silence people that are talking about things that go against the establishment's agenda. That's a dictatorship. So if we allow those rights to be abused and subverted just for one person, they're no longer universal. They become, conditional. They're conditional as long as you toe the establishment's line, and I can't agree with that. So I can support UKIP, obviously being in support of Tommy in that regard, and all the other ones that he does, but I do feel that sometimes the media is going to more want to print about that than they are going to want to print about the rest of the hard work that UKIP does at times. But like I say, I've not really fully made my mind up myself, because I think all of these things need talking about.
I thought you were going to go then.
Need exposing, and we have very little control over what's happening with the Brexit negotiations anyway. UKIP will just be there to pick up the pieces afterwards when it's quite clear we're not going to get what we voted for.
I'll tell you what, there's some people in the comments that are very rude, you know. Very rude indeed. Very, very rude. This is a family show. This is a family show. Anyway, right, okay. I got a good question here from James Miller. Ollie, ask Kate, who will take over from Gerard? He was only there in power to turn it around.
Well, it depends. If you want to be able to vote, then you have to join. You can join online. It's now £4 a month. And if you joined now, you'd be able to vote. However, I can't tell you who may be putting themselves up for, the leadership position in May. And, some people that I don't know might put themselves forward. So I don't know who may end up leading it. I don't have control over that. All I have control over is how the actual elections are conducted, not who ends up leader at the end of it. That's the membership's choice.
Okay. I want to ask you what it's like being, what was it? A couple of months ago, you put out that post. It was, I have to tell you, that post that you put out that talked about your past, where you've come from as a human being to get to where you are now, being in the public eye, and the stress, the strain of that and all the rest of it, the differences, because you're kind of a regular person, not a typical sort of career politician, but somebody that kind of fell into it. I got to say, that post that you put out, which was ridiculously long, it took me about 15 minutes to read. And as a writer myself, I've got to tell you, it was very well structured, and it was heart-wrenching. It was possibly the most incredible piece of prose I've ever read on Facebook. And I'm being absolutely honest when I tell you that, Kate. It really, really impressed me. I know it must have been a big decision to press post on that. You're not
have a choice at that.
Go on. Okay, why did you do that? Why did you do that?
Well, there are, a lot of people that have known me within UKIP. Many people would class me as a more extroverted sort of personality, whereas I don't try and hide like my human side. Many people, they like to pretend to be whiter than white, that have had perfect pasts, because they want to paint themselves to be out these perfect politicians. And I think people are sick of that for a start, and they don't want to be lied to. They don't want to be deceived. They don't want to be deceived into who you are and why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. However, I do know that people are very judgmental and biased, particularly on issues like mental health.
Let me just say quickly. Kate, just one sec. Chelsea Bob says, Ollie, you're grovelling. I'm not. I'm being honest. I'm being absolutely honest. I do not bullshit people, yeah? I'm telling you, honestly, what I felt when I read that thing. And I was pretty amazed. Sorry, Kate, please carry on. Please carry on. I just wanted to point that out, though, because I'm not in that business, yeah? This ain't like some sycophantic show. Please, Kate, please carry on.
So, yeah, I think sometimes my sort of behaviour might need a little bit of explaining. And you saw that Guido did a bit of a hit piece on me the day before, and I wasn't really in a great place at that point in time. There was a court that was convening pretty much in secret that were discussing trying to lock me away on the basis of having post-traumatic stress disorder from being a victim of one of these Muslim paedophile grooming gangs, on a very minor offence that you couldn't even get a fine for under the circumstances. I believe it was a Section 5 public order offence, because I had accidentally offended somebody with something that I had said, whilst male officers had held me down against my will for my own protection. And then, there was no need for me to have even been around those police in the first place, but then they make up charges. afterwards. So at that point in time, I was very much looking at having my freedom and liberty taken away for an unspecified period of time in either probably Rampton, Ashworth or Broadmoor for something very minor. And I believe that it was part of a personal persecution. One, because I had reported this Muslim paedophile rapist gang, because that's when the persecution via the police started to begin, especially when they realized, oh, one of these girls that got abused has somehow managed to find her way into the NEC of the biggest anti-establishment party in the country. So they obviously probably started to get a little bit worried at that point. And I've tried to silence me since. Unfortunately for them, their persecution actually forced me into a position of not being able to be silent, because I felt if I'm going to disappear, I want people to know why. I want people to know the story behind it. I want people to know the truth. I had documents that were on ready to send on MailChimp, because obviously I couldn't be at my own address in case, they did decide to come and get me, and I would have to disappear quite quickly. So I have all the information regarding the courts, the solicitors, the judges, my past. I've got all my diaries. I had that all out with friends, and some of it was obviously scanned up and put into documents and was on MailChimp on a timer, ready to be sent out to multiple email addresses. So I made it very clear to the judges and the solicitors and everybody else, if they continued down this path, I'm not just going to disappear. You're not going to be able to Melanie Shaw my ass. I am not going to go just missing. And if you think that you can just make me disappear and people aren't going to notice, think again. So anyway, they dropped everything after then, so I'm all good. But now I realise my story is very much in the public eye. I'm looking for a review on my case against the pedos, and hopefully, I very much doubt it, but I will get some justice. They're making it very difficult for me to get the information via the Freedom of Information Act to see what exactly they investigated and to what extent, so then I can ask for a review of the case. It's very long-winded, but it means that I can't actually speak about what happened to me in detail. However, I am quite happy that I have spoken about it, because in politics we have a problem. We have a problem of, middle-class muppets that have been brought up in bubbles trying to tell people how to live. And they're only interested in politics because of what they can get out of it. Your typical careerists, the ones that study politics, philosophy and economics at university, whose mummy and daddy paid for everything, they couldn't care less about people struggling on benefits. They're interested in getting a job. They're very good at pretending that they care, whereas people that have genuinely suffered and are basically just had enough. I've had enough of seeing everybody around me suffer, because I come from the worst of places. I've seen what poverty and evil and deprivation can do to people and what it does to certain areas. And these people are completely unspoken for. So as much as it leaves a nasty taste in my mouth to be involved in politics, I feel that my hand's been forced to do so, because if people like us don't get up and do something about it, we're going to be pretty much forced to. And it's not like I'm going to inspire other people that society left in the gutter and turned a blind eye to, that they can do something good with their lives. They can get into business and politics and make it to the highest ends of it. Nobody is stopping them. Whereas, society would like to have you believe that if you didn't get all these GCSEs, if you didn't go to university, if you didn't have this perfect whiter than white life, that politics and business isn't for you. Yeah. It's not true. That's right. It's about time that we reclaimed this stuff off the middle class, corrupt careerists that just want to utilize it for their own personal gain. Because it's the same kind of people that are sat in Westminster, that are sat in Brussels. And it's about time that we took it over and took control, because I've had enough of these people being in power and what that power that they abuse does to people. So, obviously, I'm going to continue and I'm going to come out with my story. I'm going to speak about the issues inside mental health, the corruption inside the police service, particularly towards victims, the abuse of the powers of 136 to harass victims that report crimes like Muslim paedophile grooming gangs. I'm going to speak about the corruption within politics and the types of people that you get within it and the type of actions that you see within political parties and movements, where everybody's stabbing each other in the back, and the reasons why they do it, because it's something that I wish to fight and I wish to combat. And eventually I would like to see it eradicated, because then we might actually get governed by people who know what they're doing and do it in the interests of other people that see themselves as servants to the public, not that, the public are the plebs that just have to take whatever's ordered and given to them. Sorry, Ollie, I've got
Kate,
an angry rant there, haven't I?
I'll tell you what, you're going to be a useless politician because you're far too shy. Wow. Wow. I want to say a big cheers to my guest tonight, to Bubba Kate Paris. God bless you. Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Chris Baxter says...
have a look at these comments.
Go on, Kate, go on. Hey?
You said something before about awful comments. Should I stay away from the comments section?
No, look at them. They love you. No, they're just rude. They all fancy you too, by the looks of it. That Chris Baxter is saying, Ollie, you going to get a word in edgeways? I mean, come on. I didn't need to ask any questions there, did I? Blimey.
No,
I'll tell you what. Hold on.
I'm
Where's
a talker.
Cool. No, I'll tell you. Yeah, but good stuff. For the record, I'm so fed up of these robot politicians. We want humans. We want ourselves. We want our next door neighbours. Yeah. If you're nuts enough to want to become a politician, well, not actually, because that's what Plato said, wasn't it? Pull straws. If they want to become a career politician, we don't want them in politics. Go on, Kate.
Means you're always going to be ruled by your inferiors. I've just ordered a poster with that to put on my wall to keep me motivated whenever I think I've kind of had enough of this. I'm going to look at that Plato quote and be like, right, that's why we're involved.
Oh,
keep
Kate, go on. You are a breath of fresh air. I'm pleased that you're in politics. I want to say a big cheers to Bubba Kate Paris and to all my guests this week.
Because I'm rather hungry and would like to go make some soup.
That's all right. You go. Enjoy. I'm going to go grab myself a beer.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey.
And thank you for anybody that watched. And I will look forward to seeing you all again soon. Bye.
Hey, Kate. See you on the 29th. Yeah, you'll be there on the 29th.
I will see you at the 29th.
Yeah. All right.
I will look forward to it.
God
see you then.
You. Cheerio. Have a good night. You've been checking out the Daily Brexit with me, Olly Connelly, and I'll see you Monday at 7. I've completely forgot who my guest is on Monday. But anyway, I'll see you then. Here's to us and bugger plutocracy. All right. Okay. Ciao. Nighty night. Beer o'clock.